The Minister of Women in the Presidency, Bathabile Dlamini, is leading the South African delegation to the Commission. She speaks now with our correspondent, Sherwin Bryce-Peace. A very good evening to you, Sherwin. Thank you so much for joining us. I believe you're with the Minister right now. It's over to you.
Thanks so much, Simpiba. And of course, the focus at the 63rd iteration of the Commission on the Status of Women here in New York, essentially one of the largest gatherings with issues of gender equality and empowerment are discussed, is really to focus on social protections, access to public services, and sustainable infrastructure as vehicles to achieve those larger and broader goals. And you correctly point out, I am joined by the Minister for Women in the Presidency, of course, also in her capacity as President of the African National Congress's Women's League. Bathabile Dlamini, always good to see you in New York. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Minister, the Secretary General at the opening of the Commission talked about how gender equality is fundamentally a question of power. You mentioned the issue of patriarchy in your country statement earlier today, which obviously remains a stubborn obstacle to the progress that women and girls need to make in South Africa. Do you agree with the Secretary General that power is not given, power must be taken, and if so, how should women go about that in South Africa?
Yes, I agree fully with the Secretary General, but also to confirm that patriarchy always adjusts. The first presentation by the Secretary General spoke about our preparedness to push back against the pushback.
Right.
Push back against the pushback. Because at all times, patriarchy finds a space to try and endorse what it stands for. And therefore, if women do not want to fight very hard and push back the frontiers of war, they are always going to remain oppressed, and they will always be chained with patriarchy.
I mean, we see the level of pushback, just as an example, Minister, for the benefit of our viewers back home, particularly when there are accusations against men who then now come out and defend their behavior quite visibly in public. I'm thinking particularly of the Babes Wodumo case, which was, streamed live for the public to see. Talk about your reaction to that video, the response by Mampintsha, the man that is accused of the attack here. What was your reaction to that, and what does it tell us about our society today?
What is said about the South African society is that we don't know our assets. Babes is a very good player and a big player in the space of music, in that her music was picked up by Lama for the film Black Panther.
Right.
And her songs are played twice. And that says our music is accepted internationally. And you can play our music anywhere. More particularly, it is very brilliant. It makes sense. It's a new culture that is developed by young people. So that's the first problem, that people do not understand what the death of Babes means. That is what shocked me, that there was a threat.
Gender-based violence basically doesn't matter what your social status is.
Yes, that's it. And in that, even women have adopted a stance that says, okay, it's fine to be abused. But we must not forget that when we grew up, in some of the families, our uncles, our big brothers brought their girlfriends, and they broke their virginity without agreement. And you will hear...
So that's called rape?
It's rape. You will hear girls crying, and you would not understand what is going on. And that in itself has made us accept abuse. accept rape and think that you have to be able to be strong and move on with your life.
It's a discussion, I think, Minister, between the need for due process, right? This is what men are saying. I want due process, but also the need and how we have been taught over the last 20 years that you have to believe the victim. What's the relationship between believing the victim and also wanting due process so that we get to a just result?
Okay, due process is fine. I agree to it. But the position of the Women's League has always been support the victim, because even the judiciary law in South Africa is patriarchal, and already your partner has that support of an institution that is patriarchal.
Of fair process?
You have a woman that is crying there, and that people are saying, why is she not living? When they know that it's not easy. They are not asking a man, why is he abusing a woman?
Minister, next year, 2020, we are going to be marking 25 years since the Beijing Declaration plan of action, essentially the blueprint for achieving the goals we talk about, women's equality, gender equality, and that kind of stuff. What's your assessment of Beijing as a blueprint and its effectiveness to where we find ourselves today?
I think my assessment is that Beijing Declaration and platform of action has given a direction to many countries, and countries that were prepared to move forward even included the articles of the Beijing Platform of Action in their constitutions. But what is important is, have we been able to practice what is in our constitutions? Have we been able to localize Beijing Platform of Action, Millennium Development Goals, and SDGs?
All right, Minister, I want to now transition from CSW to national politics. I know you're smiling because you know what's coming. Of course, the African National Congress today releasing its list, its national list for seats in Parliament. What's your first reaction to that list?
Firstly, I want to congratulate women that made it to the top 10, because I know it's not easy.
But only 3 made it, 3 out of 7. I mean, that's hardly enough.
Yes, you know what happened? Men came up with an idea of originality, of the will of the people, and said the top, I think 15% must not be changed. And that was meant to keep positions for themselves, because they know if it's a zebra, they are going to go down. And they know that more women vote for, or during the elections, for all parties. But also they know that it is women that mobilize for the support of different political organizations.
Now, Minister, you are also on that list, right? And it's raised some eyebrows in some quarters in South Africa. Last year's Concord SASSA ruling against you described your actions as reckless and grossly negligent. How do you respond to some of the detractors who are saying perhaps Bathabile Dlamini should have been excluded from the ANC's list given the court judgment against her?
What is in the list of the ANC is the will of the people. In the ANC, we do not apply to be public representatives. We are elected by the people, and therefore what is there is the will of the people.
Minister, 2 years ago we stood in a similar circumstance like this where you made reference to small Nyana skeletons. We talked about, airing dirty laundry of the African National Congress. We've seen the state capture inquiry. We've seen the Mufamadi report. We've seen various other ongoing inquiries. Was that a prescient statement of yours 2 years ago? Did you know the extent of what we are seeing in South Africa today?
I must be honest, I didn't know. And on a daily basis, I get a shock of my life. when these issues come up. But also I get a shock of my life when men want to apply justice through victimizing women. And those are issues that are going to be contested as long as issues are not treated equally.
From a woman's perspective, given the portfolio that you lead, we are heading into a very important, some are saying the most important election since democracy in 1994. What's your message to women and the power that they have in terms of the ballots they will cast in this election in May?
My message to women is that when they vote, they must have gone through the manifestos of all political organizations, and they must see what parties are promising and demand explanation of what and how all those promises are going to be made. And I will talk about the manifesto of the ANC. It comes from the structures of the ANC and also different sectors of the society. So it is the voice of the people. And women have added their voice there. And the fact that the ANC has taken up their issues, and the fact that the ANC says, walk, we will walk with you. We want the honest walk.
Yesterday in a press conference, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, the executive director of UN Women, said she appealed to all SADC countries that are having elections, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, Botswana and South Africa this year, 50-50 cabinet at the very least. All the presidents, heads of state, head of government must appoint 50-50. Is that something you can endorse?
Yes, we endorse that because women are capable, they are implementers, and most of the time, when men find all sorts of ways of removing women and being ruthless with them, it's because they see the capacity.
Minister, always good to see you. Thank you for your candour and always for stopping by and speaking to us. Minister Bathabile Dlamini is in charge of the women's portfolio in the presidency, but also president of the African National Congress Women's League. Simpiwe, back to you.
All right, Sherwin, thank you so much for your time. That was Sherwin Bryce-Peace speaking to the women in the presidency, Bathabile Dlamini.